Cristiano Ronaldo has spent over $1 billion on things most of us couldn't even dream about. We're talking about private jets that make other private jets look cheap, cars so fast they should be illegal, a watch that literally broke world records, and a purchase so wild he bought it for his agent. Not himself, his agent. Yeah, buckle up, because this is the most insane spending list in the history of professional football, and every single item on it is going to make you question every financial decision you've ever made. Here are the 20 most expensive things Cristiano Ronaldo owns, and trust me, by the time we get to number 1, your jaw is going to be on the floor. Number 20. The Rolex GMT Master 2 that broke records, $800,000. Let's kick things off with what Ronaldo considers pocket change. When he signed that legendary $117 million deal at Juventus, everybody assumed he was going to save a little, invest wisely, be sensible. Nah. Ronaldo walked straight into his jeweler and dropped $800,000 on a single watch. Not a house, not a car, a watch, and not just any watch. This was the most expensive Rolex ever sold at the time. The GMT Master 2 completely encrusted in baguette cut and honeycomb diamonds. The thing looks like someone took the night sky and shrunk it down onto your wrist. It's blinding. It's ridiculous. And it's exactly the kind of statement piece that tells the entire world exactly who Cristiano Ronaldo is. This man does not do things halfway. Ever. Now here's the thing about that watch that makes it even more significant than just the price tag. Ronaldo has always been obsessed with watches in the same way he's obsessed with his body, his brand, and his legacy. Every timepiece he wears is a declaration. When he walked into Juventus training wearing that Rolex for the first time, it wasn't just a fashion choice. It was Ronaldo reminding every single person in that dressing room that while they were all incredible athletes, there was only one man in the building operating on a completely different financial planet. And that kind of psychological edge? That's pure CR7. He's always been aware that his presence off the pitch is just as powerful as what he does on it. The endorsements that came flooding in after photos of that watch went viral on social media weren't a coincidence. Luxury brands, watchmakers, and jewelers all scrambled to get a piece of the Ronaldo effect, and that single watch opened doors to partnerships worth tens of millions of dollars. A watch that costs $800,000 made him weigh more than $800,000. That's genius-level brand building. Number 19. The diamond-encrusted CR7 Nike cleats, priceless. In 2017, right when Ronaldo was on his way to back-to-back Ballon d'Or awards, designer Daniel Inouye decided he needed to create something for Ronaldo that had never been done before. He crafted a pair of one-of-one custom CR7 Nike cleats completely covered in diamonds. Not sparkly rhinestones. Not fake crystals. Actual diamonds. Real ones. The kind that need to be insured. The kind that LeBron James and Dwayne Wade had on their shoes, which alone cost $4 million. But when Daniel showed Ronaldo the cleats, Ronaldo didn't even flinch. He just nodded, tried them on, and let the cameras roll because he knew exactly what was about to happen. Those images went around the entire internet within hours. Every football fan, every fashion magazine, every sports blog on the planet ran the story. Nike stock of CR7 branded products sold out in several markets that very week. The reason those cleats never had a price made public is because when something is truly one of a kind, no number can ever really capture what it's worth. Ronaldo is the only human being on earth who owns them, and the fact that they sit in his CR7 museum in Funchal, Madeira, encased in glass like a piece of fine art, tells you everything you need to know about how he views the intersection of football and legacy. Those cleats aren't just shoes. They are a monument. And every kid who walks into that museum and sees them understands immediately that Ronaldo didn't just play football. He turned football into something that belongs in a museum. Number 18. The engagement ring for Georgina Rodriguez, $872,000. Now let's talk about the woman who's been riding alongside Ronaldo through everything. Georgina Rodriguez. A woman who, not too long ago, was working the cash register at a Gucci store in Madrid, and who now rocks jewelry that most countries couldn't afford. When Ronaldo decided it was time to pop the question, he didn't browse a catalog. He didn't walk into a mall. The man caught Georgina commenting on a Cartier post on Instagram, as you do, and that was all the research he needed. He went out and bought the most expensive engagement ring of any professional footballer in history. $872,000 for a diamond ring that sparkled so hard, Georgina literally posted it online the second she got it, because how do you keep something like that private? You don't. You don't even try. But here's where it gets really interesting from a business and public image perspective. Ronaldo's decision to propose to Georgina with an almost $1 million ring wasn't just a romantic gesture. It was a branding event. The coverage that followed was worth hundreds of millions in media exposure. Every outlet from TMZ to the BBC ran the story. Luxury jewelry brands began reaching out for endorsement partnerships. Georgina herself became a massive influencer and brand ambassador in her own right, eventually landing her own Netflix documentary, which was watched by tens of millions of people worldwide. The woman Ronaldo chose to love became a brand extension of CR7, and that ring, that glorious, ridiculous, almost $1 million ring, was a moment that story really began in the public consciousness. Since then, Ronaldo has also gifted Georgina a $100,000 Patek Philippe, a $50,000 diamond bracelet, and in 2021 a $140,000 custom Louis Vuitton jewelry trunk that is literally bigger than their children. Georgina's personal jewelry collection is now estimated at around $4 million. The girl from the Gucci store is never going back. Number 17. The Jacob & Co. Astronomia watch, $1.50 million. If the Rolex was Ronaldo's everyday flex, the Jacob & Co. Astronomia is a special occasion statement piece. This extraordinary watch doesn't just tell the time, it puts on a show. The dial features rotating spheres, a miniature tourbillon, and hand-painted details that take craftsmen hundreds of hours to complete. And the version Ronaldo owns? Custom set with diamonds and finished in a way that no other watch in his collection comes close to matching. At $1.5 million, this is the kind of purchase that makes even other ultra-rich people stop and stare. What makes this purchase so fascinating from a lifestyle perspective is that Ronaldo genuinely loves watches in the way that most people love music or art. His collection isn't performative in the way that some athletes' collections, it's personal. He's been photographed wearing different pieces at different times, always matching the occasion, always aware of what message each piece sends. When he wore the Astronomia at a high-profile fashion event alongside Georgina, the watch got more Instagram coverage than most of the outfits in the room. Jacob & Co. publicly credited that single appearance as one of the most valuable pieces of organic press they'd ever received for the brand. Once again, Ronaldo's personal taste isn't just personal taste. It's a business engine. Number 16. The Ferrari Monza SP2, $2 million. Now we're getting into the cars. And listen, we could talk about Ronaldo's car collection for an entire separate video, because the man has spent somewhere north of $30 million on vehicles across his entire career. But let's talk about the crown jewel of his garage that he actually paid for on the books, the Ferrari Monza SP2. $2 million. No roof, no windshield, barely any bodywork. Just pure, screaming, naturally aspirated Ferrari power wrapped in a body style so dramatic that it looks like it was designed by someone who wanted to make other Ferraris feel insecure. Ronaldo got access to this car the way most people get into exclusive clubs. Ferrari handpicked him. You can't just walk in with $2 million and buy a Monza SP2. Ferrari decides who is worthy of owning one, and they decided that the most followed person on Instagram in the world was worthy. Shocker! But here's what that really means from a PR standpoint. Ronaldo received something money alone couldn't buy. Ferrari gave him entry into their most exclusive ownership club, and in return, every photo of Ronaldo near that car generated press coverage worth far more than $2 million. When he missed Juventus training to attend the Ferrari event where he took delivery, his teammates were furious. They literally refused to participate in a training session. His manager was losing his mind. And yet, and this is pure Ronaldo, he didn't apologize. Because in his mind, certain things transcend football schedules. Being handpicked by Ferrari is one of them. Whether you agree with his priorities or not, you cannot argue with the outcome. The story went global. The car became iconic. And Ronaldo's status as the world's most recognizable athlete was cemented once again. Number 15. The Bugatti Veyron Grand Sport Vitesse, $2.50 million. Before we get to the crown jewel of his car collection, we need to stop at the Bugatti Veyron Grand Sport Vitesse. $2.5 million. 254 miles per hour top speed. And when Ronaldo acquired this machine, he became one of the very few human beings on Earth to own a car capable of that kind of velocity. The Vitesse is the convertible version of the Veyron, which means that when you're going at those speeds, not that you ever would in real life, you're doing it in the open air. It's madness, beautiful, expensive, slightly terrifying madness. What this car represented in terms of Ronaldo's public persona was a major moment. Until then, people knew he had money. But the Bugatti was the moment the world understood that Ronaldo wasn't just rich in the way that most footballers are rich. He was operating in a different stratosphere entirely. The day photos of him in the Bugatti surfaced, his social media engagement spiked enormously, and several luxury automotive brands began preliminary conversations about potential ambassadorial deals. That single car, that single press moment, translated into real commercial conversations. Ronaldo has always understood something that most athletes don't, that the way you live your life is itself a business strategy. Number 14. And then there's the Cento d'Isa. $9 million. One of only 10 ever made. A car so rare that most billionaires can't get their hands on one. The Cento d'Isa is Bugatti's tribute to the legendary EB110, and when you see it in person, you understand immediately why it costs what it costs. It looks like something from a future that hasn't arrived yet. The aerodynamics are so aggressive that it seems physically incapable of generating lift at any speed. And with a top speed pushing 236 miles per hour, it doesn't need to. When Ronaldo secured his Cento d'Isa, the story dominated automotive media worldwide for weeks. The car sits in his garage as what is arguably the single most valuable piece of machinery any footballer on earth currently owns. And it's not just about the money. It's about what it signals, that Ronaldo has entered the rarefied world of hyper-collectors, the billionaires and royals and tech moguls who acquire objects not just for their function or even their beauty, but for their absolute scarcity. There are only 10 of these cars. In the entire world, Ronaldo has one of them. That fact alone shapes how the business world perceives him. When you own one of 10 of something at $9 million, your investment portfolio meetings happen at a completely different level. And Ronaldo's commercial partners absolutely took notice. Number 13. The $12 million yacht, Azimut Grande 31 Metri. Right after winning his second straight Serie A title with Juventus, Ronaldo decided he needed to celebrate in the most aquatically extravagant way possible. He splashed out, quite literally, on an Azimut Grande 31 Metri yacht. $12 million. 5 luxury cabins. 6 bathrooms. A fully equipped kitchen, a bar, sun decks that would make a 5-star resort jealous, and a speed that means you're never actually waiting to get anywhere. This is a boat that functions as a floating mansion, and given the amount of time Ronaldo and his family spend on it sailing around Ibiza, Sardinia, and the Algarve, you could argue it's one of the better value purchases is ever made on a per-use basis. The yacht also served a very specific function in the narrative of Ronaldo's life that went far beyond leisure. Every summer, the paparazzi photos of Ronaldo on that yacht, shirtless, with that physique, surrounded by his family, generated hundreds of millions of impressions globally. Number 12. The mansion in Turin, $10 million. When Ronaldo signed for Juventus, he didn't just need any house in Turin. He needed THE house. He settled on a stunning $10 million villa in the exclusive Alassio area, a property with sweeping grounds, multiple garages for that car collection, a private pool that belongs in a magazine, and enough space to make most hotels feel cramped. During his time in Turin, this was his fortress, the place where he trained, recovered, prepared, and lived with Georgina and their family. What's interesting about this particular property is what it says about Ronaldo's approach to temporary homes. Most players, when they move to a new club on a multi-year contract, rent. They find something comfortable, something practical, and they get on with it. Ronaldo buys. Because for Ronaldo, there's no such thing as temporary. Every phase of his life is approached with the same all-in mentality he brings to football. Why rent something decent when you can own something extraordinary? The Turin mansion also gave Ronaldo a base that projected success to his teammates, his opponents, and the Italian football establishment. Players who visited for team events walked away with a very clear sense of the hierarchy at Juventus. And that psychological dominance matters enormously in elite sport. Number 11. The New York Trump Tower apartment, $18 million. In 2015, Ronaldo made his first major real estate investment in the United States. An $18 million L-shaped apartment in Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue in New York City. 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and a view of Manhattan that would make even the most jaded New Yorker stop and stare. This wasn't a decision made purely out of love for New York, though Ronaldo has always had a deep affinity for America's biggest city. This was a calculated move into the U.S. real estate market, timed perfectly to coincide with his growing commercial presence in North America. At the time, Ronaldo was the most followed person on social media in the world, and the American market, the biggest prize in global sports marketing, was increasingly aware of football. MLS was growing. Major League Soccer was signing bigger and bigger names. Sponsors were beginning to understand that a Ronaldo endorsement could reach American audiences in a way that few European athletes could match. By planting his flag literally in the middle of Manhattan, Ronaldo was signaling his seriousness about the American market. The business conversations that followed that purchase, the American brand partnerships, the U.S. market endorsement deals, more than justified the $18 million price tag many times over. This wasn't just a home. It was a strategic business expansion. Now that we have reached the halfway mark, make sure to like the video and subscribe if you're enjoying the video so far. Also, if you made it this far, comment the word diamond in the comment section so I know that you're a real one. Number 10. The Madrid Mansion, $23 million. If you want to understand Cristiano Ronaldo, you need to understand his mansion in La Finca, Madrid. This is where it all came together. During his legendary Real Madrid years, the years that produced 4 Champions League titles, 2 La Liga crowns, and the Ballon d'Or wins that made him a global icon, Ronaldo lived in a property worth $23 million that reflected every single thing he stood for. When he famously gave a tour of the property, the world got to see something extraordinary. A basketball court. Not just a hoop in the driveway, a full, regulation basketball court. 2 pools. An entire football pitch in the backyard, a gym that would rival professional training facilities, multiple garage spaces for the fleet of cars, and throughout the property, an aesthetic that mixed modern luxury with a warmth that made it genuinely feel like a family home. That tour remains one of the most watched pieces of football content ever produced. Because it did something that Ronaldo has always been exceptional at, it made the unreachable feel relatable. Yes, the house is worth $23 million. But you could see himself and his son playing football in the garden. You could see the family spaces, the places where Ronaldo the man lived rather than Ronaldo the brand. And that authenticity is priceless in a media landscape full of performative wealth. The Madrid mansion shaped public perception of Ronaldo in a way that enhanced rather than alienated his fan base. It's the difference between flaunting wealth and living wealth. Ronaldo has always understood that difference. Number 9. The CR7 hotels, $40 million each. Now we're getting into business territory because Ronaldo's wealth isn't just about what he spends, it's about how he invests. And few investments reveal his ambition more clearly than the CR7 hotel empire. The story goes that during a trip to San Sebastian for a Real Madrid match against Real Sociedad, Ronaldo arrived at a hotel and was immediately struck by the experience. But instead of just enjoying it, his entrepreneur brain kicked in immediately. He and his team began sketching out concepts. And before long, the CR7 hotel brand was born. He built them in Funchal, his Medellin hometown, because Ronaldo never forgets where he came from. Then Lisbon, then New York, then Paris. Each one cost over $40 million. Each one is themed around the CR7 brand in a way that makes staying there feel like inhabiting Ronaldo's world for a few nights. The fitness facilities are world-class because of course they are. The restaurants serve food aligned with Ronaldo's nutritional philosophy. The design is sleek, modern, and aspirational. And the CR7 museum attached to the Funchal location, which contains his trophies, his boots, his jerseys, and those diamond cleats, is one of the most visited tourist attractions in Madeira. The hotel empire has done something remarkable for Ronaldo's post-football financial security. Football careers end, but hotel revenue doesn't. By building a brand that operates independently of his performances on the pitch, Ronaldo has ensured that when the boots finally come off, the money doesn't stop. is thought further ahead than almost any athlete of his generation, and the CR7 hotel chain is the most visible evidence of that foresight. Across all 4 locations, the investment is well north of $160 million, making it one of the most ambitious financial commitments any professional athlete has ever made. Number 8. The Gulfstream G200 private jet, $28 million. Now let's get into the air, because Ronaldo doesn't travel like you and I do. Not even close. His first private jet was a Gulfstream G200, a $28 million aircraft that provides Wi-Fi, a dining area, a kitchen with microwave and refrigerator, supremely comfortable seating, and the kind of smooth, private travel experience that makes commercial flying feel like something from a different era. For a man who is constantly crossing continents, from Portugal to Manchester, from Manchester to Turin, from Turin to Riyadh, having private jet access isn't a luxury. It's a professional necessity. But here's the part that really matters. When you own a private jet at that level, you're not just buying transportation, you're buying time. You're buying control. You're buying the ability to train on your schedule, eat your meals, sleep in your own space, and arrive at destinations refreshed rather than exhausted. For an athlete whose physical conditioning is his primary professional asset, those factors have a very real impact on performance. Ronaldo has maintained physical standards in his late 30s that most players can't match in their late 20s, and while his training regime deserves most of the credit, the ability to control every variable of his travel environment is part of the equation. That G200 isn't a status symbol. It's a performance tool. A very, very expensive one. Number 7. The Gulfstream G650, $32 million. If the G200 was good, the G650 is another level entirely. $32 million, custom configured with a CR7 logo visible on the exterior, making sure that every time it taxis on a runway anywhere in the world, people know exactly whose plane it is. On the inside, the G650 is effectively a luxury apartment with wings. Multiple zones for rest, dining, and work. Beds that convert for long-haul intercontinental flights. Entertainment systems. Temperature control. A level of refinement that makes the word airplane feel inadequate. By owning TWO private jets simultaneously, Ronaldo placed himself alongside Floyd Mayweather and Michael Jordan as the only athletes in history with multiple private aircraft. And that distinction matters, not because of the bragging rights, though those are obviously there, but because of what it signals to the global business community. When you own 2 private jets, you have fully separated yourself from the concept of commercial travel. You've entered a tier of mobility that allows you to be literally anywhere in the world within hours. For a man who is simultaneously managing a football career, a hotel empire, a clothing line, endorsement deals across multiple continents, and a social media presence followed by hundreds of millions of people, that operational capability is essential. The 2 jets aren't showing off. They're infrastructure. Number 6. The First Mansion, Manchester, 2003. $4 million growing to infinity in sentimental value. Let's take a step back to 2003. An 18-year-old kid from Madeira, having just signed for Manchester United, walks into his very first owned property. A 7,000-square-foot mansion with 6 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, a full-size gym, a movie theater, an indoor swimming pool, and a jacuzzi. For $4 million. And for most people, most very wealthy people, that would be an extraordinary home for life. For Ronaldo, it was just the beginning. What makes this property so significant isn't its financial value. $4 million is practically a footnote in Ronaldo's property portfolio. It's what it represented psychologically. This was the moment that a boy from one of Europe's poorest regions, a kid who grew up in a tiny apartment with his mother, his sisters, and his brother, who trained on concrete pitches and second-hand boots, who sacrificed everything to leave his family at 12 years old to chase a dream in Lisbon. This was the moment that kid became a man who owned a 7,000-square-foot mansion. That transition, from that childhood to that home, is one of the most dramatic personal journeys in the history of sport. And it set the foundation for every property, every car, every watch, and every yacht that followed. Because Ronaldo never buys things casually. He buys them as proof, as evidence that the journey was worth it. Number 5. The Platinum American Express Centurion Card. Spending power beyond measure. This one's a little different because you can't put a sticker price on it. But make no mistake, the Centurion card, known informally as the Black Amex, is one of the most powerful financial instruments on Earth, and Ronaldo's access to it deserves a place on this list. To even be considered for a Centurion card, you typically need to spend in excess of $500,000 annually through American Express products. And once you have it, a world of services opens up that ordinary credit cards don't touch. Dedicated concierge services available 24 hours a day, access to virtually every airline lounge on the planet, suite upgrades at the world's most exclusive hotels, priority access to sold-out events and reservations, and the ability to make purchases of virtually unlimited scale at virtually any hour. For Ronaldo, the Centurion isn't just convenient. It's a window into how his financial infrastructure operates. With a team of financial advisors, accountants, and personal assistants managing his affairs globally, the Centurion sits at the center of a spending and investment ecosystem of staggering complexity. His endorsement deals alone, Nike, Herbalife, Clear Shampoo, his own CR7 underwear and fragrance lines, generate hundreds of millions in annual revenue that flows through financial structures spread across multiple jurisdictions. The Black Amex is the everyday operational tool that keeps all of those wheels turning smoothly. Number 4. The CR7 brand empire, worth hundreds of millions. Strictly speaking, this isn't something Ronaldo bought, it's something he built. But the investment is made in creating and sustaining the CR7 brand is so vast and so central to his financial life that it belongs on this list. The CR7 brand encompasses underwear, fragrance, footwear, clothing, hotels, a museum, and a global licensing framework that extends far beyond football. When Ronaldo launched his underwear line, it sold out in days. When he released a new fragrance, it became one of the best-selling celebrity scents in its launch year. When CR7 jeans hit stores, queues formed outside retailers in multiple countries. The brand value of CR7 is inseparable from the personal brand value of Ronaldo himself, and that's by design. He's not a footballer who has a brand on the side. He is the brand, and football is the engine that powers it. The discipline with which is maintained his physical condition into his late 30s, the famous body fat percentage measurements, the relentless training schedules, the diet philosophy, is directly connected to his commercial viability. Every year that Ronaldo stays at the top of the game is another year the CR7 brand maintains its premium positioning. And every purchase we've discussed so far, every car, every watch, every jet, every hotel, feeds back into the brand story that makes CR7 worth what it's worth. The investment in the brand is incalculable, but conservative estimates put the total value of the CR7 empire well north of several $100 million. Number 3. The $100,000 brain surgery, and why it matters more than money. Now here's a story that reframes everything we've talked about so far. Right after Ronaldo won his third Ballon d'Or, one of the proudest moments of his professional life, he found out that a young fan of his was suffering from a life-threatening brain disorder and could not afford the surgery that would save his life. $100,000. That's what it cost. And Ronaldo pulled it out of his pocket. Just like that. No press release. No charity gala. No Instagram post. He just paid for it. The story only became public because news of it leaked through other channels, and when it did, the impact on Ronaldo's public perception was seismic. Because up until that point, the public narrative around Ronaldo had always been complicated. The Messi rivalry had created a cultural war in which Ronaldo was often cast as the villain, arrogant, self-obsessed, driven by personal glory rather than collective purpose. But this story cut through all of that noise in an instant. It revealed something that people who know Ronaldo personally have always known. Beneath the cars, the watches, the mansions, and the jets, there's a man who grew up with nothing, who knows what it feels like to not be able to afford what you need, and who uses his extraordinary wealth to make sure that others don't have to suffer that same experience. The business impact of that revelation was significant. Brands that were considering Ronaldo for family-friendly and youth-oriented campaigns saw an athlete who combined aspirational success with genuine compassion. His Q-score, the measure of a celebrity's likability and recognition, spiked in markets where his personal brand had previously been underperforming. Subsequent charity partnerships, including his decision to auction all 5 of his Ballon d'Or trophies for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, each selling for around $700,000, cemented the narrative of Ronaldo as someone who gives as spectacularly as he receives. When combined with his commitment to donating blood, his hair transplant donations, and his long history of anonymous charity work, the picture that emerges is far more complex and admirable than the tabloid version. And in the world of global sports marketing, that authenticity is absolutely priceless. Number 2, the $50 million island for his agent. Okay. Stay with me here because this one requires a moment to process. In 2015, Ronaldo's longtime agent and close friend Jorge Mendes announced that he was finally getting engaged. And Ronaldo, who could have given him a car, a watch, a case of the world's most expensive wine, literally anything that a normal human being would give their friend as a wedding gift, Ronaldo bought him an island. A private island for $50 million. An entire island for a man who was not Cristiano Ronaldo. Now look, the world reacted to this story in one of two ways. Either with complete disbelief, because who does that? Who gives their agent a $50 million island? Or with a kind of odd respect for the scale of loyalty Ronaldo brings to his personal relationships. Because here's the context that matters. Jorge Mendes wasn't just Ronaldo's agent. He was a man who, when a scrawny, homesick, terrified 12-year-old kid from Madeira arrived in Lisbon to pursue a football dream, helped navigate the corridors of power at Sporting CP. He was the man who engineered the deal that took Ronaldo from Sporting to Manchester United for £12 million in 2003. He was the person who negotiated the world record transfers to Real Madrid and Juventus. He was the strategist behind the commercial empire. Jorge Mendes didn't just represent Ronaldo, he helped build him. And Ronaldo, who understands loyalty in the way that only people who've come from nothing truly can, expressed their gratitude in the only way that made sense to him. He bought the man an island, because that's what it meant to him. And in doing so, Ronaldo revealed something about his character that no amount of PR could manufacture. When it comes to the people who matter to him, there's literally no ceiling. The business implications of that gesture extend in interesting directions too. When the world's most commercially valuable athlete publicly demonstrates a kind of loyalty to his representatives, it sends a very clear message to the entire sports agency world. If you work for Ronaldo, if you give him everything, the rewards are without precedent. That reputation has helped Ronaldo attract and retain some of the best commercial minds in the business, and that infrastructure has been fundamental to the CR7 empire's continued growth long after the playing days end. Number 1. The life he built from nothing, and its incalculable value. And here we are, number 1. And you might be expecting another watch, another car, another jaw-dropping price tag. But the most expensive thing Cristiano Ronaldo owns isn't a thing at all. It's a story. And that story of a boy from the island of Madeira, from a family so poor they shared a room, who was told at the age of 15 that a heart condition might end his footballing dream before it started, who wept on the pitch at his first Manchester United training session because the homesickness was so overwhelming, who faced the death of his father before the man ever got to see his son truly become the greatest. That story is worth more than every watch, every car, every plane, every hotel, and every island combined. Because here's the thing about Cristiano Ronaldo that the numbers don't capture. Every single purchase on this list, from the $800,000 Rolex to the $50 million island, traces back to that story. Every expenditure is a chapter in a narrative that the entire world has followed for over 2 decades. And the commercial value of that narrative is truly incalculable. Ronaldo is not just the most followed person on Instagram. He's the most followed person on Instagram because of who he is, where he came from, and what he did to get there. Nike understood that when they signed him. Herbalife understood that. The CR7 brand understood that. His hundreds of millions of followers understand that. When Ronaldo finally hangs up his boots, whenever that day comes, he will not simply be a retired footballer. He will be one of the most powerful personal brands in the history of human commerce. The hotels will still be there. The clothing line will still be selling. The fragrance will still be on shelves. The museum in Madeira will still be drawing visitors who want to stand in the presence of a story that inspires. And somewhere in a climate-controlled garage, the Bugatti Cento Daisy will still be worth $9 million to anyone who can get their hands on it. But all of that, every single last bit of it, is built on the foundation of a kid from Madeira who decided, very early in life, that the only ceiling that existed was the one he chose to set for himself, and has spent his entire life, his body, his discipline, his money, and his time, proving that the ceiling doesn't have to exist at all. That's Cristiano Ronaldo, the man, the brand, the billion-dollar story, and that, right there, is worth more than your life. But hey, if Ronaldo's been out here dropping 9 million on a Bugatti, just imagine what exclusive secrets the GOAT himself is hiding from the public. I know you want to hear about that. Click this video right here.